Once again, welcome back, friends. So our world today is a world of IT. COVID has made us understand that if you don't keep up with the rate at which digitization and automation is going, you will be left behind. So IT is very important, and most audit firms will have their IT divisions. For one, I remember all those ages past, KPMG back home in Ghana had, and they still have an IT division. So when we go to the client's office, we have an IT assurance group or team who will come and conduct these IT audits or IT reviews of the system so that we can place reliance on the IT processes or systems, the data analytics, software, data application controls, any softwares, hardwares that the company has been using. So these IT guys help us a lot. We cannot do our audit without relying on this IT. So they will come in, they will do a whole lot of controls. They will tell us about output controls, input controls, processing controls, master file and standing data files controls. There are a lot of things. Okay, we have to work with them. Now, even if we have to put audit aside, your own lifestyle, you use phones, and you want to put some controls on it, password, encrypts your data before you send them. Now we find IT becoming part of us everywhere. In our daily lives, we always do some form of audit of our IT systems. Personally, let me cite an example. On Wednesday, February 21, 2018, I remember that date very well. I came back from work and criminals have broken into my room, taking everything from my room. And I wasn't too much disturbed, though I lost a lot of wealth, money, properties. But I wasn't so much disturbed because I was then working with USAID. And the laptop they had given me, you cannot log onto the laptop unless you have this encryption card. You have to slot it in before it will allow you to even turn on the laptop. You can't even type login. So anyone who stole that item will just have to dismantle the PC and then use it as spare parts. So it made me understand the need or the use of encryption and IT controls both over your softwares and your hardwares. Is very important, very, very important. A case happened in 2019 in the UK. The UK Post Office had to pay a compensation of almost £58 million. It was 57.75 million settlement to more than over 550 claimants within the country. These guys brought a legal action on Post Office, UK Post Office, because of the software UK Post Office were asked them to use, the Horizon. It's called the Horizon Computer Systems. Now, do you know what happened? These computer systems had some defects in their software systems. And so it caused these sub-postmasters or the post offices, the branches, to lose a lot of money, shortfalls over the years. So a lot of these post office branches, the sub-postmasters, were accused of falsifying the accounting records, theft. Some of them became bankrupt, they lost their business, some were prosecuted and jailed. Now, later on, after a lengthy campaign, the High Court realized that these shortfalls were not caused by the sub-branches, their system. It was actually caused by the Horizon system, which has been given to all these post office branches across the country. So all these 550 lives whose lives have been affected, it was because of the Horizon software. So they brought this case against the Post Office, UK Post Office, and a compensation of almost £58 million in 2019, just recently, we have to be paid. So IT controls are very important. Very important. Okay, I'm going to run through quickly. It's quite a technical area in terms of IT controls. Anyone who doesn't love IT, you have to love IT. In accounting practice, we've been told when I was attending my CPD classes, my CPE as part of my ACCA requirement, I realized something that it is a very interesting thing I want us to know. We have some skills, you acquire some skills over the course of your life. Any IT skill that you have or competency you have, in 5 years, it becomes useless. So that's why you must always update and upgrade your knowledge. So if you are stuck to only one software, Xero, for example, and you think Xero will last over the next 5 years, remember, there will be updates, there will be upgrades, there will be patches deployed to ensure that Xero software can stand the test of time. And don't be surprised, in the next 5 years, a more robust version of an accounting system will come, which could replace Xero. So you must always update your understanding of IT skills, IT systems. At the end of the day, we want to understand aspects of computerized system which could affect our work as auditors. The audit approach we need to use when auditing computers and their systems. And then we'll look at understanding the CATs, computer-aided or computer-assisted audit techniques in the workplace. And then we'll visit data analytics and then wrap it up. Okay, and wrap it up. A lot of things here. When you look at the text, or text chapter 17 on auditing and computers, you realize that it will even drill down into the various risks, the inherent risks, the control risks of the company. You must look at these ones, okay? Now, the auditor, as part of our work, go back one step. Auditor, as part of our work, we must understand the system that the IT system or the IT environment that the client uses. Take an example. Let's use Tesco. Tesco, you go in to buy something and you swipe your card. You buy groceries, let's say 200 pounds. You swipe your card, you go off, okay? Now, the system would have communicated to themselves that groceries worth 200 pounds have left the shelves. They need to be replaced, else we'll run out of stock. That 200 pounds actually includes a profit of 50 pounds. So 150 is actually the cost. We need to disburse, or we have to pay the vendor that amount of money, maybe 150. Okay, so it goes on. So you can see that the system is communicating to inventory, to the cash system, to the receivables, to the sales. It is all around. So this flow of transactions and processes of information within the client system, you must understand it. And that is why we need the IT guys to come and educate us. Also, as an auditor, even if you are doing manual interventions, manual audit, you must understand how the software systems operate so that you can better undertake a manual intervention or a hybrid set of audit approaches. This is because the entities' use of IT applications and any other aspects of the IT environment could pose risk. There could be faulty systems, or they could have softwares which are misleading because they are not updated. They are giving you false information. Therefore, management may be taking inappropriate decisions. So all of this must be kept in mind so that we can better understand how to report deficiencies and ask them to correct those deficiencies. So as an auditor, we must understand the IT environment. We must focus on identifying and understanding the nature and number of specific IT applications the company has, IT controls they have, the application controls that they have, system controls that they have. So it can help us better understand how information flows. So at the end of the day, they give you a paper which tells you that this is the aging balances or the receivables aging analysis which has been given to you. You must understand how did this information get generated, from where to where, and does it reflect reality? Okay, so I give you an example of the Post Office Horizon software scandal. Okay, you still find it in the text. Now, when planning our audit-based, computer-based audits, We must consider the timing. We must document our work. ISA 230 audit documentation is always important. That's why we must understand the computer system. Again, ISA 315 comes in handy. If you are trying to understand the IT systems, IT environment, it is similar or it is in the same way as understanding the entity and its operating environment. So broadly, we need to understand how the company operates. Two approaches are used when planning a computer-based audit. Audit around the computer and audit through the computer, like the name sounds. Around the computer, we're just looking at what was inputted and what came out. Then we reconcile the input to output. All right. Forget the processes, what goes into what is churning out the input to the output. Forget about that for the meantime. It saves us time, very brief, quite short, straightforward. We can append it with an analytical review to make our work holistic. Now, audit through the computer. That will spend a few time over there. We'll spend a little time here. So we must have a greater knowledge of the electronic processing data, electronic data processes, the EDP. So we must consider the associated risks with the IT system. What controls does a company have over their master file, over the systems, over the processing systems? Sometimes journal entries, what controls do they have? And of course, most journal entries will be IT-based, IT-oriented, or IT-focused. So we must be able to understand how these processes work in generating or passing these journal entries. The auditor is required to make detailed contact with both the hardware and the software. So this deals with getting yourself fully immersed into their software and hardware systems. So this is where we make use of the CATs, the computer-aided or computer-assisted auditing techniques. Almost all audit firms have CATs. All audit firms, because at this point, we need it. There's no compromise on that. There are some risks when we are deploying, we are looking at this IT environment of the company. Sometimes the controls or the software is faulty. The IT applications are faulty. They are not good. Because they are faulty, even if you key in accurate data, they'll give you wrong results. Sometimes the IT applications are okay. They are not faulty. They are not, there's nothing wrong with them. But the data we key in is inaccurate. So if I'm correct and you give me a bad data, I'll give you a bad data. You see how negatives can affect the positives. Any number times a negative is negative. So the same way, if the system is negative, the applications are negative, and you give them positive data, they'll give you negative data. Very easy to understand. Some of the risks could be unauthorized access. Somebody gets into the system, he doesn't have authority, but he's able to access the data. What happens when somebody has an unauthorized access and gets access to the data, maybe through hacking, or has been given the access unduly, or he found his way through? He can destroy the data. He can tweak the data, change the data to his own like. He could end up recording false information, inaccurate recording of data. Now, there are particular risks where multiple users use a common database, and everybody can log into the payroll system and make changes. There could be multiple risks over there. Another risk has to do with possibility of IT staff gaining access privileges beyond what is required of them. So you must always set a boundary, a threshold. You don't go beyond this level. You are the payroll person. You can only key in new staff. You cannot remove somebody from the system. You are a payroll system. You are a payroll staff. You can only go in to key in the NI rate. Somebody goes in to key in the tax code for the HMRC. You don't do both, okay? I don't want to mention this name, but I had a scenario where this person, in one of my audits, this person is able to go into the system, add new employees, remove new employees. That's okay. That's okay. We can manage with that. But this same person is the one who processes the payroll, adjusts the tax rates, adjusts the pension rates. And this person I just reported that this is very risky. The person does not have to go to that extent. And they didn't listen, and the consequences were terrible. I wouldn't want to go into that. So segregation of duties in the IT control system environment is very important. Unauthorized changes to data in the master file, I just cited one example. Unauthorized changes to the IT applications or other aspects of the IT environment. I use a university laptop. I can't just go and install any application on it. The system wouldn't even allow me to install it. So you must have the administrative right to be able to install that. Also, the university will be sending you patches, regular updates, so that your laptop synchronizes with the system, so that you will not be out of date. So failure to make changes to these IT applications could pose risk to your organization. Inappropriate manual intervention, you just want to use your own manual ways to maybe change the keyboard, the system, to change the screen, to connect something which is not authorized. Be careful. Okay, be careful. There could be potential loss of data or inability to accept the data as required. What controls do we put in place? You know this. You may know some of this already. Passwords are important, okay? Plug in firewalls, antivirus softwares. Try to install some anti-spam filters, which will filter out unnecessary emails or unnecessary fake email items from your original items you need. Train the staff on cybersecurity, cyber risks management. Those of you who continue to final year will say, we'll make enterprise risk management a module that I teach. And you realize that there's a whole topic on cyber risk management. And it is actually linked to the CIMA PIPA P3 risk management. A whole 3 chapters linked to that, 3 chapters, right? Quite intensive. Regular backup your data. Physical data security is all server security. Nobody at all should have access to the physical systems. Just those who are required to must. And then we have the Mfe Multi-Factor Authentication. If I log in into my Outlook, I need to log in with my password. Once I log into the password, it will also have to send me a code, a special 6-digit code on my phone. And I must key in that 6-digit code before it can allow me to access my Outlook email system. MFAs are important. We need it. User privilege. Who has access to these applications? And who is authorized to do that? Okay, so these are some controls we can put in place. The cards. The advantages of the cards is that it is very effective when testing complex systems. It helps us to also test larger population quickly and accurately. And it helps us to conduct live actual system testing. And it's cost effective. In the long run, it is very cost effective. Cards are important. We cannot do away with them. When using cards, take into consideration the auditor's familiarity with IT and cards. If you're an auditor, you don't like automation and digitization, you'll be left behind. So if this auditor is not familiar with this, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster for your audit work. Again, also consider whether there are available cards and suitable computer systems. You cannot just go to the client system and plug in your cards and try your softwares and try to test their system. You must seek their permission. If the client is not allowing that, then you must raise some questions over there. Also consider, are there no avenues to conduct manual tests? Is it impractical to conduct manual tests? Then we have to deploy fully the cards. Consider the effectiveness and efficiencies of cards. The fact that we need cards in our generation now doesn't mean all cards are important. No, some are useless, some are outdated. Check the timing. The data files may only be available for a short time, so check the timing the timing of the data. 2 main approaches for the cards. We have the test data and then the audit software. Most audit firms will have their softwares that they use in line with these cards. I remember I used IDEA, Interactive Data Extraction and Analysis Tool. I used Caseware as well. Which one else? I have used Momentum, Mapper systems. I have used a lot of systems. Okay, I think these things have changed. And right now, if you ask me to deploy those things in the workplace, I may have forgotten some of them, but I will surely be able to pick them up. Most of these audit softwares are built on Excel. So if you're a basic and an intermediate user of Excel, you can always understand how these things run. You can work it. Let's look at the two main approaches using the cards, the card techniques, two main data, test data. So this is the data the auditor will use for computer processing to test the operation of the entity's computer programs. Now, this test data consists, yes, so that's the data we select, and we run it through the client system. The auditor would already know the results, the predetermined results from that processing. So I want to run it through and see if their application controls are working, and I want to test the application controls. The data could be something the auditor has specifically designed for that audit, or he could actually use data from the client and use it for the test. But in either case, make sure it is representative of the whole population that you want to choose. Now, it might be used during normal run or during a special time. I remember auditing one of our clients. We always want to wait at the end of the day when they have closed their business. Then we run our test data to check, because, you know, business is still ongoing. The fact that you are there auditing doesn't mean business must shut down. Business goes on, so you don't want to interrupt, okay? You don't want to interrupt. There are test data approaches. You could use dummy data variables in the normal production run. So we construct dummy data, and then we run it through their application controls and see. We have predetermined results. We know what we are supposed to get. And then we match it against the actual results which come up. Are they the same? Are there deviations? Are the deviations significant? The advantage is that we are able to understand, we use the client's actual programs, and the data files used in the test are okay. I mean, they may be the same data, we want to match them, but they are dummy variables. They are not real. Disadvantage is that we must always reverse these transactions. Otherwise, you know, it can distort the information that will be run. It could corrupt data files. So we need to always reverse it to eliminate any effects that could occur. Use these dummy variables with care. Make sure you clear everything from the system. Otherwise, if you're not careful, somebody might leverage on that, commit his crime, and blame it on you. Now, using dummy data in a special run. So sometimes the auditor will create special data, and will use it against copies of the client's data files, special data files. The advantage is that dangers associated with live testing are eliminated. Disadvantage is that it is necessary to obtain assurance that the program we are running in the test run, in this special test run, is identical to what the client has used in their system. Okay, and not a special program kept aside for the auditor's test. Now, if you are not careful, because the client knows that you are coming to run a special data, they can configure their system to just cater for your special test, and you get the result that you need. That's what you want. They'll give it to you. So be careful of that. That's why we always need the IT guys who are chartered system analysts. They can better understand whether the client is configuring the system just to meet our expectations, or it is the actual system we are using. The difficulties in using data tests is that there could be cost implications. Could be cost intensive, okay? Maybe considerably, when constructing this data, there could be cost. You want to construct the data from scratch. Limited objectives, we may usually limit this to control tests and not substantive tests. Data analytics helps us more with substantive tests. The danger of live testing to ensure the data files are not corrupted is also there. Okay, there's also danger of testing during a special run. And if special test runs are used and artificial testing environment is created, they will create what you want. They will configure the system for you. Be careful. Be careful. Assurance is needed that these guys are not giving us a special platform from what is actually operating. We must document this in line with ISA 230 audit documentation. So We need to produce working papers to support this as audit evidence. And so the difficulty could be there. The next one is the audit software. Like I said, most audit firms will have their softwares. These are computer programs used by auditor to examine the client's computer files, their data, their reports, which they bring out. They are special purpose softwares, which are programmed for the audits. And every audit company I have known, the Big Four always have their specialized audit software that they use. Now, it may also be built into the design of systems in the form of embedded software, which we call the SCARF, System Control and Review Files. So, for example, we want to use it to store information as it is processed for subsequent audit review to identify items which are of special audit interests. Okay, so we can consider those as well. And now these audit softwares are designed to help us understand their system, to interrogate their system, download some data, manipulate it, and see what happens. When we use it properly, it becomes a powerful tool for us to audit the whole system for any year, to compare subsequent results to the current results. And this audit software helps us to both test the controls and to conduct substantive testing. Very important. The audit softwares are great. It's particularly appropriate during substantive tests of specific transaction balances, account balances, and it helps us to scrutinize large data sets and extract information for use. So the audit softwares are very important. IDEA, as I know, does a lot of things. It does analysis, it does a sampling, it sets the materiality threshold, the performance materiality. It can even prepare accounts for the client. It helps us to do our planning analytics, our finance analytics. It helps us to jive and see areas where there are deviations. It is quite interesting to have these softwares. It makes life easy, and it reduces the audit risk, the detection risk. Actually, it reduces the detection risk to a very low level. Typical use of set programs will include calculation checks. I was even mentioning some of them. Helps you to understand or to conduct some cash checking, some reconciliations. It helps us to also detect violation of any system rules. For example, the program can check whether all accounts on the receivables ledger to ensure that no customer has a balance above a specified credit limit. So we are telling you that no customer can be given credit above 20,000. The system audit software can tell you that 1 or 3 customers have credits above 20,000, and it tells us the weakness in the controls. It also helps us to identify unreasonable items. Maybe, for example, checking that no receivables ledger balance is more than the total sales made to the customer. So we're telling you that sales is 10,000, and somebody, we made a sales to somebody, 10,000, yet the person is owing us 15,000. How come? Why from the extra 5,000? We need to probe further. So this helps us. It also conducts some statistical analysis for us. It can help us to select items, sample the items for testing, and helps us to check whether everything has been accounted for completeness. So like I was mentioning, IDEA helps us to do all of this. There are difficulties involved when setting up or using these computer audit programs. The setup cost can be expensive. Sometimes you need to alter the system to meet or jive with the client system, and there could be some cost involved in this alteration. Again, some of these mini computers or microcomputers may not be compatible with the software packages. So you may have to get different sets of laptops or PCs that can cater for this, that can allow for the installation of these softwares. Tendency to produce over elaborate inquiry, costing time and money. Because the software is reliable, if you're not careful, you will just follow through and do a lot of work. Over auditing could even come in. Huge quantities of output could be produced by the audits, by the inquiry programs. And again, we are being told we need permission from the client to be able to connect our system to theirs. Okay, to be so. Because at the end of the day, they don't want your audit to come in. Reverse transaction they may have posted like 3 months. So you need permission from the clients to gain access to their systems at certain times. And at the end of the day, you must reverse them. Okay. Let's wrap up with data analytics. So data analytics is considered the science of examining large volumes of data, raw data. The idea is that we examine this large data to draw conclusions about the data. So not just to leave it. Like the name sounds, analytics. So you want to see the trend, or you want to see what is happening, the relationships. Then after that, you draw conclusions. Now, it can reduce our audit risk through the increasing level of testing, because there's a detailed level of testing, and it helps us to understand or better assess risk during the audit. In our substantive testing, like I said earlier, data analytics helps a lot in substantive testing procedures because we are able to manipulate and interrogate larger sets of volumes of data than in previous cases. It helps us also to improve testing of controls and save some time. Okay, so that's data analytics. And finally, I will say that care must be taken when we are running this data analytics in terms of designing it and using it in our audit system during the audit. For example, when we badly specify the tests or we apply them to inappropriate population, we can get a lot of exceptions or anomalies. So make sure you design it properly. Make sure you apply them to the appropriate population, representative of the population. Otherwise, your test results will be useless. Okay. Requires investment in computing softwares and hardwares, and we need to train people who will be using this data analytics. Now, it could be of greater value when dealing with large and complex clients. Those clients whose operations are typically data intensive, IT intensive, you can look at them. So this is an appendix. You still find it in the text on controls, software controls you could put in place on general controls, application controls, and another appendix on embedded software. Okay. Try and see if you can look at Bing properties case study on page 300, and then if time allows you, look at the examination question on page 301 on Furnish Stores Limited. All right, that is it for me, and I will leave it here for you. All right, friends. So IT is important. Stick to the plan. Stick to the current automated system in your workplace, in your personal life, and once again, get yourself get some internship with audit firms. Get yourself into the audit firms and understand how these things work. And you always love it. Auditors are quite disciplined. I love them. See you, friends. Bye for now.